Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to draft a basic skirt pattern. This is going to be a very quick and easy one to make. So let's get right into this video. I already ruled my lines on my pattern paper. So I'm just going to explain to you what I have here. To get the width of your rectangle, you are going to divide your hip circumference by 2. Then you add 2 inches to that. So the hip circumference I'm working with here is 50. When divided into 2, I have 25. Then I added 2 inches to that and I have 27 inches. So what I have from this point to the other point there is 27 inches. Then I split the 27 inches into 2 equal halves. One will be serving as my front pattern and the other will be serving as my back pattern. So this right here is my center front. All my measurements will be starting from there. And this is my center back. My back measurements will be starting from that point. Then I placed my vertical measurements. The first line at the top will serve as my waistline. Then from that point, I placed my hip depth, which is 10 inches. And the length of the skirt I'm working with is 23 inches. So that is what I have on the center back also. So this is my waist, my hip line, and the length of the skirt. Starting from the front pattern, on the waistline, I placed quarter of the waist circumference plus 1 inch for that intake. Quarter of the waist I have here is 9.25 plus 1 inch, that is 10.25. On the hip line, I marked quarter of the hip circumference. Quarter of the hip circumference here is 12.5. So I marked 12.5 on my hip line. So on the length, all I did was to subtract 1 inch from what I have on my hip line. So that would be 11.5. So I placed 11.5 on the length of my skirt. So all I did was to connect the points together, just like you see me doing. Then the next thing I did was to come down from the waistline at the center front. I came down by 1 inch there. Then I connected that point to the side with a slight curve, just like you see me doing. I connected the 2 points like that. Next thing I did was to place my darts. From the center front, I placed half of my bust bar measurement, that is my nipple to nipple measurement. I placed 4.5 there. Then the next thing I did was to mark the length of my darts, which is 5 inches. I made the length of my dart to be 5 inches, so I connected that with a straight ruler. Then I placed 0.5 inch on both sides of my bust span line. Then I connected the points with my ruler to draw my dart leg. Then I added my side seam allowance on the front pattern. I added 1 inch as my side seam allowance. So I added 1 inch to the waistline, hip line, and the length of my skirt. Then I connected the points with my ruler. So that will be all for my front pattern. Then I'm going to move to the back now. So on the back pattern, we are going to have an extension at the waistline area. So all I did was to cut the paper and I added it to the top of my pattern like that. So the first thing I did on the waistline was to come inward by 1 inch from the center back. Then I connected that point to the hip line with a slanted line, making sure I extended the line above the waistline. The reason why we are extending the waistline is because of the bum. And the extension is about 1.5 inches. So from the waistline, I came up by 1.5 inches. So from the extension, I marked quarter of the waist circumference plus 1 inch for that intake. So from the 1.5 inches extension, we are going to place quarter of the waist circumference plus 1 inch dart intake till it touches the original waistline, just like that. Then you are going to connect the point with a ruler. You can see the extension here. So when you sit down, your skirt is not exposing your bum. That's the reason why we extended the waistline. On the hip line, I placed quarter of the hip circumference, which is 12.5. And on the length, I subtracted 1 inch from what I have on the hip line, and I placed 11.5 there. Then I connected the points together. Then the next thing I did was to place my darts. So from the center back, I placed half of my bust span measurements. So to draw my darts, I won't be placing my ruler straight. I'm going to follow my waistline, the way it's slanted. So I placed my square ruler, making sure my waistline and the square part of my ruler is on the same line, just like the way you're seeing it on the screen right now. So I just made a straight line downward like that. If you don't have a square ruler, it's not a problem. You can still make use of your ruler. Just make sure the straight part of the ruler is on the same line with the way your waistline is slanted. Just make sure you slant your ruler, making sure the waistline and the ruler is on the same line. Then you just roll it down. It's as simple as that. So I marked the length of my darts from my new waistline, which is 6 inches. Then I placed ½ inch on both sides of the bust span line, and I connected it to my dart leg. Then the next thing I did was to add my 1 inch side seam allowance to the waistline, to the hip line, and to the length of my skirts. Then I connected the points together. Then the next thing I did was to add my zipper allowance to the back pattern. So I added 1 inch for my zipper allowance. Then I connected the points together. So that red there is my zipper allowance. So I'm going to cut out. So I'm going to label my pattern. This is the front and this is the back pattern. The next thing I'm going to do now is to make my band. So the band for this skirt is going to be a fitted band and it's going to be adapted from the skirt pattern. In order to make my band, what I'll do is to fold in my darts on the skirt. So I'm going to close my darts with a masking tape. I'm going to close my darts with a masking tape. So from the waistline, I'm going to measure and mark my band height. I'm making use of 1.5 inches for the height of my band. You can choose to make yours to be 2 inches, but mine is 1.5 inches. So all I did was to mark 1.5 inches downward from the waistline. Then I connected the points with my ruler. So that is all for my front band. I'm just going to label that as the front band so that I don't mix it up with the back band. And I'm going to cut that out. Then I'm going to unfold the darts on my skirt. But don't unfold the darts on your band. That is the way it's going to be. So that is the amount of darts we are going to be sewing on the skirts. The same thing applies to the back pattern also. We are going to close the darts on the back skirts. We are going to fold in the darts and we'll close that with the masking tape. And I'll mark my band height which is 1.5 inches. So from the waistline, I came down by 1.5 inches. Then I connected the points with my ruler and I labeled that as my back band. And I'm going to cut out. Then I'm going to unfold the rest of my darts on the skirt. So that is all. That will be all for the drafting of our basic skirt pattern. So in the next video, I'll be showing you how to transfer these patterns on fabric and how you can sew them. I'll be showing you the sewing process. Do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.